Hello and welcome to the Hume podcast, Roll and Roll. For those of you who don't know us, Hume is a recruitment training business co-founded by myself, Ed Khan, and Laura Hopes.
And each week we're going to be giving you 10-minute snippets into our world of recruitment, tips and tricks to help you on your journey as an agency recruiter, and hopefully some laughs along the way too. We hope you guys enjoy.
Again, this is the second glass of champagne now. If you watched last week's episode, Ez is just sat here getting sozzled.
This is still the same day of recording. I don't just sit here drinking champagne on every 10-minute episode. Although, what if I did?
I don't think we're going to be able to record another one after this, though, because that's going down quite quickly.
So this week's episode, bouncing back.
Oh, bounce back ability.
Bounce back ability. One of the key traits of a good
recruiter,
long-term, high-performing, or actually any long-term recruiter, your ability to bounce back, because as if you guys that are listening are recruiters, you'll know everything can and will go wrong.
Yeah.
And there's two ways of dealing with that. There's the people that go, woe is me, that was shit, and they allow themselves to really get away with that emotion and let the negativity creep in. And there's only one way that can end. You have a shit week, and if you carry that feeling on the next week, you have a shit month, carry it on, you have a shit quarter. And I've seen this with managing hundreds of recruiters in the past, where that feeling's crept in. They've not been able to actually process that feeling and go, thanks but no thanks, I'm moving on, I'm bouncing back, and they have a shit quarter, they have another shit quarter, they move agencies because they believe it's then the agency that's at fault, and maybe a change of scenery, change of business, change of people might help them. And then you follow their careers and you go, oh, funny, that happened again. A year later, they're moving again. And it's because, in my opinion, it's the bounceability.
Yeah, it's mindset, isn't it? And I think it's having tools at your disposal to, one, have the self-awareness firstly to go, I am not in a good place right now, and the work I'm doing is coming from a negative space, which is never productive, and you never do your best work from that place, from a place of fear, from a place of negativity, from a place of blame. Like, that's never ever your best work, and that energy, and you know, it sounds woo-woo, whatever, I firmly believe, like, the energy you put out does influence 100%. What you attract. And if you put out negative energy, you're going to attract negativity, right? Which is why it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
100%.
So I think the first thing is having the self-awareness to be like, I am not in a good space right now. And it doesn't mean that you don't validate those feelings, because I think it's fair enough to be like, I've had a shitter. I had some really bad luck, or I made some bad decisions, or whatever it was. And that was not my finest hour, or that was not my best quarter. But it is that moment where we get to choose. And I do firmly believe it's a choice. It's a choice of, I can continue down this vein of thinking, and I can continue blaming and living it over and over and thinking woulda, shoulda, coulda, or I get to choose right now what happens next, and what are the things that will pick me back up to put me in a place where I am ready to go again, and what do I need personally and professionally to be able to do that.
Could not agree with that more. Literally, I think we could end the episode here, because that I see is the biggest, the most fundamental thing that we'll discuss today, I think, is that the energy that you put into the world will bounce back to you. So if you're putting out your negative energy, your woe is me energy, the world will bounce something back to you to give you more of what you're putting out.
Yeah.
That's true words have never been said, Laura Hopes.
There was this day, right? Oh my God, I was having like an absolute shitter of a morning. And it was just a day where I was really indulging in it. Like, just really letting it get on top of me. And having a day where I was feeling quite sorry for myself. So I was like, I'm taking myself to yoga at lunch. I need to just fuck everything off. So I got to my yoga class. I got to the street of my yoga class. And I was being blocked by a lorry, which meant I couldn't get round to go and park, right? And the class was starting in like 3 minutes. The lorry wouldn't move. Like, they were unloading something. Anyway, my energy took me to this place where I ended up getting out of my car, I've never done anything like this, shouting at the lorry drivers because I annoyed them so much, because I shouted at them, they then obviously took longer. I ended up missing the yoga class, right? And the whole day carried on in that vein. But I had started the day feeling like things are going to go wrong. And so the energy that I continued to attract throughout the day were this, you know, cacophony of errors, or whatever the phrase is, of, you know, just things coming up because I was focusing on the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you don't validate when you've had a tough ride, right? Sometimes in recruitment, we know things are really out of our hands, but it is in how you go, what is going to pull me out of this and what's going to make me feel better? And do I have healthy personal tools that can allow me to bounce back? As you just
Healthy personal
sometimes you do just go, you know what, I need to go and have a blowout, I need to go and have a few champagnes and get on the phone to my best friend and just put the world to rights. But sometimes you have to recognise a hangover tomorrow maybe isn't going to make me feel great. What's the healthy thing I can do right now that will give me bounce back ability, so that I'm not avoiding these feelings, so that I am acknowledging them, moving through them, and when I go in on Monday, I am in a different mindset.
I think that's the thing with things like substances, like alcohol, whatever else you use, it's a short-term fix.
Yeah, it's a must.
And if that's your long-term fix, it's not going to be long-term. It's not actually going to help.
No.
The other thing with the sort of those little situations that set you back, I think one of the reasons that I've observed in my own life earlier on in recruitment, I put so much pressure on the small things that I have to make this placement, I have to fill this, and I wasn't looking at it from a bigger picture point of view. I wasn't looking at it from a long-term point of view. And the minute I started to look at it from oh no, this is my career, this is overall what I want to achieve, this one placement really isn't going to affect my career long-term. What I want to achieve is getting better with influencing people, getting better with building trust, getting better and honing my craft. And so the little things weren't as important. And so when they did not go to plan, it wasn't a big deal, because I'm like, that's fucking sucky. And often I laugh about those things, because I'm like, of course it went wrong. That's pretty fucking annoying. But then you laugh about it, you move on, you go, cool, it's this tiny, tiny little blip in your career, your life. It doesn't really matter.
Well, I think one thing that you always say to our rookies, and even to me, that I find so helpful, because I do work in such an intense way sometimes, is like, it's not life or death. And I think sometimes that's enough for me to be like, oh my God, like, it is such a small thing, it doesn't matter. And sometimes you just do have to be a bit easy on yourself in that sense, don't you? And I think if you do focus, like you said, on all of the small things, you're going to notice faults in everything. And I think if you could stay true to, but what am I trying to achieve here on a grander scale? Well, I'm still committed to that, you know, and I'm still focused on that. So these are, you know, this is the journey to get where I'm going.
My life coach actually said this to me around 7 years ago. He's up with these things that come up in your day-to-day, the annoyances that you have with the owner of your business that you're reporting into, with the staff that won't perform, blah, blah, but whatever it might be. He's like, just always ask yourself in the moment, will I actually care about this in 10 years? And he's like, I can almost guarantee you, almost 99.9% of the time, if you ask yourself that in the moment, you'll go, this has no bearing on my life, really.
Yeah.
It
You
is
won't
so
remember
insignificant and small.
Yeah.
And so you won't put so much pressure on controlling that situation.
Yeah, totally. And it is, I think, a relinquishment.
Relinquishment.
Is that relinquishing of
Relinquishing.
control? And you can't control everything.
Laura makes a word up on this episode.
Sometimes, honestly. So I didn't go to uni. All right, I think that's 10 minutes for this one. Hope
Yes.
that was helpful for anyone. And also, you know, talk to people. If you know, a problem shared is a problem halved. You have to get things off your chest to be able to move forward.
100%. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
Think of it in the moment as, will I actually care about, will I even remember this in 10 years?
Yeah.
Often you'll go, no, I won't fucking remember this. Therefore, it does not really matter.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
See you next week.